like, bro, yeah, she got a kid. Look at his back. Oh my god.
Hey, what's up, y'all? Welcome back to another reaction. Today we're reacting to They Want to Brainwash Your Kids, Gothix. Yeah, man, Gothix. I haven't reacted to her in a while, but her videos are always insightful, good, factual videos, very truthful, very blunt, very blunt, which is a good thing because that's basically what her channel's about. We want to be able to take in all information, process it, and then, you know, express our opinion through that. You know, we want everybody's opinion here, you know? Like I said, Gothix always have really good videos, man. If you enjoy reactions to her, let us know down in the comments. Make sure to hit that like button, subscribe, and share. It's the road to 10K subscribers. Gonna hop right into the reaction.
I was gonna wear an anti-racist uniform for this video, but I don't want to give them any more publicity. Today we're talking about critical race theory. The 1776 Commission was an advisory committee established in 2020 by President Trump to support what he called patriotic education, but was later terminated by Joe Biden once he became president. Full disclosure, the 1776 Commission was one of the reasons I decided to drop my Trump derangement syndrome and ultimately vote for Orange Man. And while many critics of the commission found it riddled with historical inaccuracies in an attempt to downplay the racist history of America, that was of no concern to me, because I knew that the alternative would cause irreversible damage to society. I'm talking about the 1619 Project, which aims to reframe the country's history by placing consequences of slavery and the contributions of Black Americans at the very center of the United States. The 1619 Project, or otherwise known as critical race theory, is being described as diversity education for the workplace as well as schools. But I'm here to tell you that that is complete bullshit. To put it bluntly, critical race theory is indoctrination disguised as education. It's literal brainwashing with the promises to examine social, cultural, and legal issues as they relate to race and racism. You know that saying, they sold you a lemon? Meaning you drop some dough on a car only to find out that it's a piece of crap? The engine stalls, the brakes fail, it's all corroded on the inside. And that's what critical race theory is. It's a disaster with a little bit of polish and a used air freshener, so it entices you just enough before the buyer's remorse sets in.
It's just a bunch of promises and fake lies. It's just, you're wasting your time. Did you hear what I said? What are you being taught? What white people owe you what? The majority of the white folks that live in this country now, German, Italian, Irish, Norwegian, Scandinavian, Eastern European. Black folk have been here longer than most of the European people who's on the continent now. So what reparations are you being strived for? Like what group are you asking? The white people that came after slavery? Did they do something to you as well? Like, I don't know. It's a very slippery slope, and now we're just going to teach kids to hate one another, to hate their skin, to wonder why, since I was born this way, am I inherently related to these values? Because of my skin color, I am automatically related to these values? This seems very, I don't know, what's the word? What would you call it? Racist? Like, it's ridiculous. And like she said, it's sweet. It's nice. It's like it got that little hint of, oh, we're trying to expose racism. We're trying to dig deep and expose how the United States has exploited certain groups throughout history in order to thrive. Yes, duh. That's what every state does. Especially within our early... Look at Africa. They just got their independence, who knows, like 7 years ago, and look at it. You got memes about it. If you had the internet 100 years ago, I'm pretty sure there'd be memes about how the United States had Indian hunts. They were going hard.
If you're familiar with my channel, then you know that I made quite a few pieces regarding racism because, well, that was the only topic of discussion some people were capable of having in 2020. Everything's racist. That's harmful. White supremacy this, systemic racism that. I don't know about you, but that's a little unusual to see society personally invested and consumed with one particular topic. We've all got lives to live, families to feed, so what rational reason is racism a code red priority all of a sudden? The reality is that racism does exist. Yes, it does. Always has and always will. And understanding that has allowed me to pick and choose my battles so I don't waste my energy trying to remedy something that's out of my control, especially if I'm not in any danger. And no, hurt feelings don't count. With that being said, as I mentioned in my Race Hustler video, as well as my reading from Manning Johnson's book, racial agitation has always been used as a tool to generate revenue and, worse, motivate communist revolutions. This is one of the reasons that I encourage people to embrace live and let live principles, because once you realize that something is out of your control, such as defeating racism, it will be easier to spot those who are trying to take advantage of you by selling you a fantasy. I'd like to think of 2020 as a giant game of telephone. It started with COVID, and somehow along the way we ended up on the topic of white supremacy to the point that people can't stop talking about it. Which is understandable, considering how often virtuous keyboard warriors constantly label everyone and their mother as white supremacists. I can see how the illusion of a more racist country has come to fruition. But realistically, how many interactions have you had with a white supremacist lately? And be honest. Hostile, by the way. I don't care about your hurt feelings, and I don't care what you think they believe or what principles they hold. What have they done to negatively impact your life, excluding feelings directly? Not your friend, not someone you follow on Twitter, you. Because I'll tell you what, I'm more apprehensive about walking through a BLM rally than I am living amongst potential white supremacists. But going back to my original point, racial tensions will always be exploited as long as people continue to focus on things they cannot change. The civil rights movement is over, meaning that Black Americans have the same rights and resources, yes, I said resources, as every other American. There is a certain level of personal responsibility that every person should have, so no, I don't buy the idea that your Pantone shade determines your quality of life. At least not in 2021. That is, assuming we can stop this new diversity training in its tracks. So, let's get into this. What is critical race theory, and why should every single parent be concerned about it? To help answer these questions, I've invited some friends to share some insights on the topic. We're going to start with the spokesperson for Color Us United and host of the Pensive Politics podcast, Christian Watson, who's going to help us understand what critical race theory is and where it came from. Take it away, Christian.
Well, one of the biggest things that people really need to understand about critical race theory is two things, actually. They need to understand, number one, how is it used by the left to accrue political power? And number two, how does it fit into the entire viewpoint that many leftist organizations like Black Lives Matter and general leftists have? So these two very things are important, because if we don't understand how critical race theory is used or what ideology it emerges from, how in the world can we actually dissect it intellectually? We can't. So I want you to imagine this. A lot of left-leaning ideologies pride the idea of egalitarianism, simply meaning that they want to have a society where there is equality for all in terms of opportunity and in terms of outcome as well. Whenever you hear a leftist say, I want people to have fair housing, or I want people to have free healthcare, what they really are saying is that I want to have an egalitarian society. So an egalitarian society views every single thing through a single lens. And that single lens is through equity. That single lens is through the idea of having this broad access through everything else. Now, you can have an egalitarian belief system without actually having critical race theory, but what has happened is, ever since the 70s when Kimberly Crenshaw and a few of her compadres, used the methods from the Frankfurt School, which established critical theory, to create critical race theory, the sort of egalitarian idea of the left has been paired with an obsession with power and privilege. And that is what critical race theory is. It is this idea that you can reduce relations in society, especially relations insofar as they concern race, with power and privilege. So that means, as Kimberly Crenshaw once put it in an interview, that instead of seeing a black girl and her problems as indicative of her individual circumstances, it's seeing the black girl and her problems as a culmination of the various circumstances that go into being a woman, that go into being black, and that go into being her particular socioeconomic circumstance. And how can you do this? Through intersectionality theory, which is inherently influenced by critical race theory. So what have we learned? The egalitarian idea of the left has been paired with critical race theory, and both of them have in common a sort of single-minded tunnel vision by which they view everything with. And so this single-minded tunnel vision is used to bring this idea of heaven onto earth. Why do you think Black Lives Matter, the organization, even the phrase, why do you think both of those things proclaim to speak for all black people? It's the same single-minded narrowness of the general idea of critical race.
That little window, that little single, like you said, like that narrow space, like everyone's the same, like everyone has the same priorities, like everyone has the same work drive. That is not true at all. Some people are just not the same hard workers. That's why everyone's not a billionaire. That's why. Some people are just better at doing things than others. Some people are just more willing to do things than others. Some people are just in a situation where they just have to do more things. You know, and especially with the internet, like I said, I keep saying the internet, we have all these distractions now. It's definitely a lot harder to make it seem like there may be like some outside force, limiting you, like some accumulative force. We tend to actually ignore the individual at this point, you know. What can you do as a person? Like, only, like, you can be, like, you can put your point of view and you can do it, but at the end of the day, it's you. It's your body, it's your mind, your soul, and you have to be willing to put in the work, you know, to get yourself out of that, or be willing to find the truth, look for the truth, be willing to hear all opinions. Even if you don't agree with it, you're still able to understand it, you're still able to take it in, you're still able to, accumulate it with all the knowledge you have, because like I said before, knowledge is power.
Race theory is the same single-minded narrowness of the general idea of everything in society being reduced to power and privilege. Critical race theory is not just this interesting rhetorical device that occurs in academia somewhere that has a weird-sounding name. No. Critical race theory is quite literally the tool that is being used to justify, through an academic way, quote-unquote academic way, whatever that means these days, some absurd ideas. It is not scientific. It is not rigorous. It quite literally views everything in society as being caused by power or being caused by not having power or whatever. It's a single purpose. And for that very reason alone, it should not necessarily be taken seriously as an ideal, but it should be taken seriously as a looming threat to all of our individualities, as a looming threat to the promise that many of us are guaranteed, not just as Americans, but as people who live in the West, which is so complex and diverse.
Yeah, we're gonna break this up in apart. This is a long video. We're already pretty far in. But yeah, this is pretty interesting. Like you said, it breaks down the individual, man. It really comes down to you at the end of the day. Are you willing to put in the work? Are you willing to find the knowledge, take the steps needed to evolve yourself, to gain them extra parts you need in order to work out the rest of your life, you know? Like, it's not easy. It's never going to be easy, people. I said, blunt all the time, insightful views, man. Keeping it real with you all the time. Giving us information that people really need to hear. Not that propagandized, but straightforward, honest information. But yeah, if you enjoyed the reaction, hit the like button, subscribe, and share. We'll see you next time. Peace.